All right, so environmental science. Did I tell you that the first year it came out, I taught it? So I did. I was very young. They said, teach AP Environmental. I never had environmental science as a student. It didn't exist when I was in school. What existed was ecology. So anybody know what that means? Or anything on this slide? What environment means, what ecology means, what could be a word to describe living, what could be a word to describe non-living. And I'll guide you. What do you study when you studied life? What class was that? Raise your hand if you could tell me. Biology. So bio means living. So now that we covered that, what do you think is non-living? What could be the word? If biotic is living, what could non-living be? Raise your hand if you could tell me. Antibiotic is good, but that's what we take when we need to kill a living organism that invaded our body, right? So not that. Close though. Yes. Perfect. Non-living abiotic. That's hard to know. Non-biotic, antibiotic, anything you say would have been good. So abiotic and biotic. You're going to see those words possibly on the AP exam. But more importantly is applying those words, okay? And when you study ecology, or when you study the environment, what are we looking at? I'll take anything. When you hear the word environment, what's the first thing you think of? Nature. Good. What else? Plants. I like it. Are plants living or non-living? Living. Okay. What else? Organisms. Living or non-living? Living. What else? Animals. Land. Love it. Living or non-living? Land. Grass is living. Is soil living? No. Okay. So we keep talking about living or non-living. What is environment? Is it? What we live in is a good example. It's anything that's around you is your environment. Anything that surrounds an organism. So is this classroom our environment? Is this table our environment? Yes. Are you part of my environment? Yes. Anything around you is environment, living or non-living. So what is ecology? When you see the word logy, that means study, right? What are we studying if we're studying ecology? What? We are. We're studying environment. So if we're studying environment, what are we studying? The things around us. What things are around us? What else? The air. So we're going to study how living things interact. So humans would be an example. You can't just say humans because we've got a lot of living things with each other, and elements would be considered what? Huh? Environment is, am I part of the environment? Yes. I'm the living part. I'm going to learn how I interact with you, with my dog, with the grass, right? And that's perfect. Now, we struggled, and I'm going to tell you how much this struggle is real. This definition will be every single short answer question that you have to answer in this class involves this interaction. And in order to get it right, and I would start programming my brain to understand this, if you don't mention a living component and a non-living component, did you describe ecology? No. You have to mention both. So make a note to yourself. In order to get the question right, I must include a living and non-living component and that interaction. If I'm going to talk about the environment, or I'm going to talk about the study of the environment, I'm talking about that interaction. So for years, we studied ecology. When I went to school, that's the only class that existed. Now in bio, your last chapter is ecology. Sometimes it's your first chapter. They've literally flipped the order of bio and started with the interaction between living things and the environment, and then gone molecular, which doesn't make any sense to me because you want to start small and work your way up, but it's such an important component, okay? So I studied ecology. Why? Because we were learning about our environment and the interaction between living things and non-living things. Why do you think now we had environmental science? Why did that follow? We're going to study ecology, and we're going to study all the components of ecology, every single thing, but the major focus is to solve problems. So when we study the interaction between humans and other organisms, what problems arise from that interaction? When we study the interaction between us and compounds, what problems arise from that reaction or that interaction? That's what environmental science, that's why it came to exist. Today, when you get to college, instead of taking environmental science, you're going to take this class. This slide should tell you everything. What do you think the new class is? So we went from, let's study how we interact with living and non-living things. Then let's study the problems that arise from those things. Now what do we study? And we studied the problems because we needed to be aware. People did not know. People still don't know. So you need to be aware. Why do we need to be aware of problems? What's the whole point of being aware of a problem? To find a solution. Today's class is about saving the future. Saving the environment and the interaction between living and non-living things and each other for future generations. Anybody know what that word means? Conservation is a great word. Put it down. What else? What's the class you take in college? What is the focus of every business in today's world? They have this component to their business. Management. For sure. That's a great word. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. There you go. The key, sustainable living. The key and the future is this. So instead of studying environmental science, now classes are called sustainable living because they want the focus to be on problem solving versus learning about the problem. Clearly, to solve a problem, we have to know what the problem is. So we will learn ecology first, then we're going to learn the problems, then we're going to learn the solutions. That's the focus of this class. Every short answer question in this class is a problem and a solution. All right, you could literally delete this slide. So delete it, color it black, whatever you have to do, put an X, put do not study, because we're really going to apply them. Anybody know what a natural resource is? Or can give me examples? Fossil fuels. What is a fossil fuel? Oh yeah, he's defining it. That's great. But what is it? Gas is an example. Oil is an example. Coal is an example. What are all those things? What do we use them for? Energy. Energy is a natural resource. Combustion of a resource will create that energy, right? But there's energy in it without combustion. So it's can't create it. It's there. What else besides energy is a resource? Water. What do we call water? And air. Matter. Good job. So we've got matter and we've got energy. Unit 2. Cycling of matter and the flow of energy. Matter will cycle through all of Earth. Energy flows. They're different. So if you notice, here's matter. Right? I did the arrows backwards. Pretend I did that. Well, there's no order. I could start wherever I want because matter cycles. Energy, is this part of Earth? Is the sun inside Earth? No. It's part of our universe, yeah? So the sun brings in the energy and it actually flows and then out comes energy. Then it could continue flowing in a different level, and out comes energy, because energy flows. It'll never go back into the system, okay? That's unit 2. There's an introduction. So things to think of before we even move on to start talking about our environmental problems, or an introductory level. I'm not going to do this quiz. You do not have to know this on the test. I'm not going to skip it, okay? You do not have to know this on the test. I just want you to think of where you are and talk about the shift in the mentality. Back in the day, and there's still a lot of people that live in this level, which is planetary management. Sounds like a good word. It's really not. Those are people that think Earth is here for us, and everything that Earth provides us is for us to take. Because that's what Earth is designed for. It's for us to use at whatever way we want with no consequence. You think that's true? Absolutely not. This is why we have this class. We had a shift in mentality saying, wait a second. If we continue in this path, we might not have everything we want. So we have to be stewards of Earth. Earth is for us, but let's use it in a way that we can preserve specific parts of it out of fear. It's really out of fear, not to do the right thing. It's out of fear, because do you want to be without water? I sure don't. Yeah. And these are the people that know that there's a possibility we could be without water. And that's environmental wisdom. What do we have to do to make sure that this precious planet is going to be available to us forever, especially future generations? Because, we all want to have kids one day and know that they could grow up in a planet that can sustain them. Yes? When we study everything we study, we're gonna kind of dive into these two things because they're so different, especially with topics. What am I referencing here? Okay, that's a great term, but yes, outdated term. So what would be a first world country? Give me an example. Here, we call that more developed countries, okay? Or developed countries. Or, well, the opposite of us, right? And you can put United States as an example, is less developed countries or developing countries or least developed. All those words. You can also see on the AP exam, MDC. And you have to know that they're referencing more developed countries. Or LDC for less developed countries. Okay? And that's it for today. Whoops.